recording, and then go back to share, and then go here, and then share screen. There we go. All right, so we are recording. All right, so here are the questions for your skip. The brief explanation of your school and community. You're at Enloe.
Yep.
All right, tell us about Enloe.
So Enloe is a interesting community. Technically, I believe it's classified as urban, but when I went through, I kind of grew up, there were always three classifications. I call it suburban because we're nowhere near the center of the city. So
no, I agree. I agree with that.
Especially with the magnet program. The magnet program really makes it suburban.
Yes. It draws, when I was living out at Wakefield Village, which is not far from there, back in the 70s, I guess it was, or late 70s, early 80s, when I was living out there after I was in graduate school at NC State. That was a completely suburban high school then.
Yeah.
I know that there are a few urban kids there, but no, it's nowhere near an urban school.
Yeah, I've noticed that they seem to have done away with the suburban category almost.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to just like to either say it's rural or urban, and then they don't have that in between anymore.
No, that's what I mean. That's not accurate.
Yeah.
That's
our demographic is somewhere in between. We have about 43% African American. Unfortunately, they don't split the data on who is magnet and who is not at the school level. Yeah. We can get that from HR, but they're really kind of picky about how they give that information away because they want it to be seen as one school, not as two separate entities.
Right.
But from what we've gathered, and we've taken a look at different information and things like that, we tend to safely assume that about 30% of that 43% is our base kids at a minimum. We got 12% Asian, 10% Hispanic, 35% white. We also have a couple Native Americans. A couple years ago, we had 12 with Native American descent, which was astronomically high. But right now, I think we have 3 who are considered Native American. The school itself came in 1962 is when it opened. It actually started out prior to that as Enloe itself was there, but the west building that we have, the east building, the additional building we have was called Aycock Junior High.
Right.
And now they've kind of merged it all together into one campus. So we have a wider open campus than most of the campuses in Wake County. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much assumed that almost all of our kids at some point have to walk outside to get to their next class.
Yeah.
It is we've been listed as one of the top magnet schools in the nation year in and year out. I think currently the most recent one, we were ranked 110th or something like that in the nation as far as magnet schools. But we've been slowly slipping. In the past 5 years, it's consistently gone down in all the rankings and reviews, which is one of the reasons why our school's currently going through the process of possibly changing the bell schedule. This has been quite a year because we've got our reaccreditation happening right now. On top of that, our SIP team is looking at, or they're voting tomorrow actually for the official vote on whether or not we're going to switch to an A-Day, B-Day schedule instead of doing the 7-class period, because we're the last school in Wake County as a part of the Wake County public school system that runs the 7-period traditional schedule.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at potentially going to an A-Day, B-Day, 8 periods or 8-class schedule, where kids would go to class every other day, basically. The idea is it would set them up and prepare more for college because they get used to the 90-minute classes. And as well, it kind of gives teachers a little more time to actually have a true planning period, because right now every teacher has one 45-minute planning and usually has some kind of duty during that time, if not during their lunch. Basically, it's either have lunch duty or what we call start on time duty, which is sweeping kids to class in that first 10 minutes, which if you have a 45-minute planning period and you lose 10 minutes, you really only have, 30 minutes because you got 5 minutes to walk back and forth.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got, who are the PLC SIP members? So my PLC has been interesting. We created one last year that we called Task Force, and the idea was it was going to be a continuing thing year to year that would focus on whatever the major needs were of the year. Last year, we split it into 4 different things. We actually started it prior to me starting the program, but it was something that I was able to take on and make part of my own because we just have way too many PLCs. We meet every Wednesday, and there's about, I want to say the last time I checked, there were over 30 PLCs in the school. But we created it, and after the end of the school year last year, it dissolved. And our administration team decided that they didn't want to redo that PLC alignment. So I've been using most of the data from what we took last year and using it as a last year process because our administration team just decided that they didn't want to continue with the additional PLCs with how many we already had. Mm-hmm. So I've been working a lot with our SIP team. Ray Samuels is actually one of the guys that I've been working with a ton, simply because a lot of what I've been doing as part of my internship anyway has been helping with the reaccreditation process, making sure all the different, trying to think what they're called, the surveys get entered in and on time, and also all the data can be avoided, those different things. But the majority of our PLC SIP team members are more of our longer term teachers, ones who've been there 4 or 5 plus years. Yeah. And usually are the ones who are more active in our school community as it is. They run clubs, they run sports, things like that. We have a pretty great divide. It's either you do a lot with the school or you do nothing. There doesn't seem to be a lot of the in-betweeners who do like one club or anything like that. It's usually someone who's, running the guy who runs our SIP team runs 3 clubs and helps out and volunteers with volleyball. Right. Just constantly same people cycling into the different jobs. Yeah. The stakeholders that we targeted, clearly with the skip was parents. That was a big one. Trying to get more family involvement into the school through different means. We set up a idea for a newsletter that our actual administration team is taking a look at putting out. We talked about using the robocalls for major events and things, and especially one of the issues that we have noticed is that report cards don't ever seem to make it to parents. And a lot of that is because financially they don't mail them anymore because it costs too much money. So they're sent home with the students on a random Friday. And that just seems to get into a book bag and never, if it's not good, it never shows up to the parents. And a surprising number of parents don't even know they're supposed to be coming out. So we don't even know that parents haven't seen it for a month too. I mean, I have parents asking right now about a kid's first quarter grade and we're almost done with the second. Because they've never seen it.
Does your district have a calendar of when report cards and progress reports are supposed to go out?
Yeah, on the back of the students and / parents handbook that they get at the beginning of the year, there's a color-coded calendar on it that specifically shows when quarter ends, and then right after, it's always like the week the quarter ends is highlighted in a color, and then the next week it's highlighted in another color, and it has a symbol on there, and with the legend it tells you that symbol means that's when report cards come home. But we have a large contingent of our parents who never even see those pieces of information. Yeah. We have 363 kids right now who still haven't signed the new waiver Wake County sent out, saying that they would lose access to the all internet and computer access at the school if they didn't sign it, which is a new thing this year that Wake County did to kind of protect them from the different internet issues that are coming on. But we still have 300 some odd students who haven't signed that, parents haven't signed that paper, so they've lost internet access. They don't have a Wake County account at all. The county actually stripped it from them, which obviously causes major issues when you take a kid to the computer lab and find out they can't sign into the computer.
Right.
And we're not allowed, when that happens, you can't even say, well, just have so-and-so sign in for you, because they weren't given permission to use the computer. That's what that meant. Not a whole lot. A lot of these subjects have been done in the past. We actually kind of looked into some of the oversight on that as to why things were missed, a lot of the different things. But a lot of the stuff we decided to put into play for our stakeholders in contact are also newer things. Twitter's only really been used as a communication device for companies and businesses for, in the very recent past. Before it was just for teenagers to contact, and then someone realized that it could be a useful tool. There's obviously there runs into issues with that. Who's going to run it? Whose job does it become to be the Twitter updater? Those kind of things. So all those are volunteer kind of positions, or as a matter of fact, their Twitter that they're planning on setting up isn't a volunteer position. They added it into one of our multiple secretaries' jobs and made her in charge of the electronic communication. But a lot of it was just because of a lot of new technology and some people who had never experienced this newer technology in charge. It's just kind of that catch-up time and understanding that it's available and it's something that can be used. Trying to scroll down here. Our needs assessment. Obviously, the biggest thing that we found with our needs assessment was that we needed a lot better communication. We really weren't getting successful communication between teacher and parents. Phone calls really weren't being made. That was one of the frustrations that we did find, especially once you start talking to individual teachers one-on-one. You find out that a lot of times they'll attempt to make a phone call, and if they don't get the actual person, they don't leave a message. Or if they leave a message, they never hear back and they never follow up. It's that initial contact is enough to satisfy the requirements, so made my requirements and move on. Which of course is something that we talked about as the admin team as a managerial issue, something that we need to look at and take a little bit more control of in the future. But the biggest thing is just making sure that communication is actually making it to the parents. There are some things in Wake County that kind of make for an issue. We're specifically told we're not allowed to take a report card signature or an interim signature for a grade. That's something that I always did in Charlotte, and something I always had to do as a student. Is if I was issued an interim, it had to be signed and it was part of my grade. That way it actually came back signed.
Right.
But now, because there's such a push for making sure that every single assignment, every single piece has something to do with the curriculum, that you can't offer that as an assignment. You can't offer it for extra credit, because even extra credit is required to be aligned to the curriculum specifically. So that puts a lot of it kind of leaves it out in the open. You say, well, I can require you to do it, but I can't give you a grade for it. And half the time that's all that the kids care about is, well, if you can't, don't give me a grade for it, then there's no real punishment you can give me. It's not like something I can assign detention for or manage in that way either. So it just kind of comes to be something they figure out that, oh, hey, I don't have to do it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
And that becomes a frustration. And so we're working on trying to find different ways that we can manage that to make it so there's something that could be done. But obviously, with the restrictions of the laws and the rules of Wake County, they're finding that something and whether it's effective or not is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Stakeholder goal. Big one. The biggest goals that we're looking at would be, again, like I said, the communication, but also getting parents involved at the school. That's a huge challenge at Enloe because we're so spread out. A lot of other schools that I've been to, it makes it a little easier because it's just the community around the school. So you can go and promote around the neighborhood. It's easier for them to get to the school. Whereas with a lot of our students, I've got parents who talk about how it's an hour drive each way to get their kid to school in the morning and pick them up at night.
Magna parents.
Yeah, and so getting them excited to come to school for something that's not their kids doing an event that night specifically is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
We actually just had a parent PTSA meeting about the bell schedule, and we had a worse turnout for that than we had for a regular PTSA meeting, which is really surprising with how much people put in stock into the bell schedule at our school that we barely got any turnout. Student achievement, the biggest thing that we were looking at, the two areas that we really focused on were math and English, because those are where our scores are slipped the most. Math especially, but the real reason why our math scores are slipping is because the kids are taking in 8th grade. So the ones who used to boost our scores up as 9th graders no longer boost our scores up. So now it's just finding a way to adapt for that and get the kids who are struggling to make a difference.
Yeah.
But it's the same.
Algebra, the shrub kids, the good ones in 8th grade, right?
Exactly. It's the same issue that every school's facing, and that's why the Math 2 scores or Math 1 scores across the entire state look terrible, the last couple of years, because they're all just taking it now. They're good enough, and we've got kids coming in all the time, left and right, starting in calculus. We're one of the only schools in Wake County that actually offers Calc 3 as a class at the school. Most other schools at that point partner with one of the colleges and send the kids off. But we have Dr. Lyerly teaches Calc 3 at our school because he's certified to do it, and it makes it a lot easier. The different things. What's up?
Block schedule. You'll have the opportunity to add more of those third levels, because students have the opportunity to take 32 classes in their career rather than 28.
Exactly. Yeah, being able to add the additional classes was one of the big things that people were pushing for, because it opens up that world, and it also opens up the possibility of we have a few classes right now that we actually block up, so they'll be their 6th and 7th period or something of that matter. Now we could block it up, but it can be their 3rd period every day instead of 8 every day, and now they get 90 minutes every day instead of 30, which would be fantastic.
Do that with your freshman academy kids that are behind. That's one of the things it allows you to do is they go to that block every day rather than every other day. They still have the opportunity with the possibility of 32 credits. See that they still have the possibility of graduating on time, but doubling up in those core courses when you go to the ABE Day Compact 4x4. And it allows you to get to the 3rd level of your upper level courses.
Right.
It does a lot for your schedule to do that. I'm surprised that you're still operating on a 7-period day schedule.
Well,
I'm a principal here in Charlotte, not far from where I'm sitting right now. Back in the mid 90s, we changed from 7-period day to the 4x4 for that very reason.
We're the last holdout, and a lot of it's because in the years past, it's always been everybody's made the argument that that's what part of what makes Enloe unique and special and draws people in. But what we're finding is one of the things that it's doing is it's driving people away, because a lot of teachers look at it and go, I don't want to teach 6 classes and 45-minute planning.
Yep, and a lot of students, a lot of parents that are aware of what's going on want their kids to have the opportunity to get those 4 extra classes, because those are all the ones that they need for college.
Exactly. And it just provides an opportunity to get more efficient at things too. I mean, you can get to a higher math.
In the middle, it's going to be unchanged, but it allows you to do more top classes, and it allows you to double up, have an hour and a half block every day for the lower kids.
Right. Well, and one of the major advantages too, being a magnet school, we have so many electives that we can offer every year, and obviously we can't offer all of them every year. It provides an additional class period to offer another elective.
Certainly,
especially with how big our arts program is. It's huge for them to be able to have an extra dance class or something like that as an availability.
Right. Yep. One extra class every year
makes a big deal.
The
interesting thing will be what our master calendar looks like, our master schedule, because I have a copy of it at school. I actually left it there today, and it's about right now I think it's 52 pages, and that might actually be lowballing it. It's a packet. I have it binder clipped together just in case I need to flip through it. But I mean, we have 150 some odd teachers, each of them teaching 6 class periods a day with a planning period. It's a fairly hefty schedule, with a ton of different accommodations. We have certain AP classes that are blocked. And same with our Math 1 and our Fundamentals of Math. We have that blocked as well, so the kids kind of get 2 periods in a row of the same math, a lot of extra help. The resources that we obviously need for implementation, the big one is just the volunteer work, because we don't have money, any real funding designed for this. So the major resources are just people. It was manpower. For our community relations night, it was manpower. We've talked with a lot of our different clubs that we have at school, and they've actually all volunteered to produce different things, whether it's food and taking care of the food for the night, like our student council does, or if it's being our liaisons. We have a specific group, actually, that I'm trying to remember what they're called, but they are basically the people who, our marshals, our student marshals, who do everything for all our major events. They always have somebody who's assigned as a student marshal to guide parents in and things like that. But the main idea of that kind of parent community night is we would have tables in different places set up so parents could ask questions and get direct answers from people who actually knew what they're talking about. Because a lot of the misinformation comes from when kid talks to a teacher and the teacher is talking about the new bell schedule and doesn't like it and just says, well, this is a terrible idea. That's all the kid ever hears. And unfortunately, they never get all the pros or the cons of what's happening. They just know that such and such teacher doesn't like it, and they like such and such teacher, so therefore it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That was actually a lot of what the parents came to us on the PTSA night was, well, I heard from so-and-so that they didn't want this, so is this the general feeling of the teachers or not? The timeline for our action plan is pretty much the school year. To get the Twitter up and running, the goal had been October. They just fired it up. They just got it started recently, so it was a little behind on the original goal. But that a lot of that was because we had a new secretary hired, and the secretary who was in her place that moved into our copy room, which I had been running through all of October, was the one who was going to run the Twitter. So now we had the new secretary get trained and learn the system before we threw it on her. The community outreach night is tentatively scheduled for January because we actually have an open house night at the same time.
All right.
But that still has one last hurdle to clear. The admin team wanted to sit down and discuss it. They have a meeting every week on the early part of the week, and their last meeting before that night is this week, or this coming week. So they're going to have one last time where they discuss it to make sure they got it done before we go ahead and start advertising for it. But the plan would be that it would be that same night to kind of knock everything out, since they're going to be people who are going to be coming to school there anyway.
Yeah, we need to consolidate so people don't make so many trips.
Exactly.
Better turn out that way, the more things you can do at one time.
Right. I think that basically covers up the majority of those questions for the skit.
I think we covered pretty much whatever we need to do in the OMA also. So
okay.
We kind of hit scheduling as we went through. All right, very good job, Sean. All right, Shantae, you're there. And I see Brandy's with us. Shantae, you want to go next? You can pick one of these two, and you see them on the screen, the questions to answer for the skip in the OMA.
Okay.
Just whichever one of those you want to do, just go ahead and get started. Kind of tell us what you've done this semester.
Okay, so let's see, which one do I want to do? I guess I'll do the OMA. Let me go ahead and try to open it up and make sure that I'm getting everything I need. Okay. Okay, so we are a K-5 magnet school in Onslow County, which is in Jacksonville, North Carolina. We are the first elementary magnet school in our district. Currently, we have 527 kids currently changing. We just enrolled 5 new kids this week. And it is a low socioeconomic area that we are dealing with 67% free and reduced lunch. And
So you are a Title I program, but not a Title I school?
we are a Title I school. Yes, we are.
Now, you understand the difference between being having a Title I program and being a Title I school?
Currently, we are classified as Title I.
All right. Title I, if you have a Title I program, you have Title I teachers and you have Title I kids, and only the teachers can only work with the Title I kids. And the Title I kids can only share in those resources. If you're a Title I school, whether the kid's a Title I kid or not, he can share in the Title I resources, teachers, and other things.
Yes, we're Title I school.
Okay, so every kid there, doesn't matter. There's no delineation. They're all in the Title I teacher's room, or if you have a party, they can all share in the activities and those kinds of things. All right, continue.
We currently have some teachers that are paid out of Title I funds, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Predominantly African American population at our school. We have 81 EC kids, and I broke it down by grade level. We have more 4th and 5th graders that are EC at our school. And let's see, we have only 18 academically gifted students at our school. And again, we are a magnet school, so we do pull from all the schools within the district. We do operate on a hub bus system where they pick up not throughout the different communities. They pick up at like one school. The parents have to drop them off at that school, and then they ride a bus to our school.
Right.
I think when we implemented that, we saw a decrease in the numbers of magnet students. Because currently, the data manager couldn't exactly give me how many students were considered magnet, or we call it protected corridor students that live right within the community. She wasn't able to give me that, but she said majority of the students do live in the protected corridor. We have a very low magnet population.
Right.
Our teacher makeup, we predominantly have a predominantly female Caucasian staff. We have 2 African American teachers and our female teachers, and then 2 African American male teachers. We also have the Splash program. They implemented it 3 years ago. We're starting at kindergarten. They're fully immersed in Spanish speaking. So you can walk into the kindergarten classrooms and they're total Spanish. The first class is currently in 3rd grade. And when they get to 2nd grade, that's when they start learning English, reading in English. Student achievement, we are considered this year a low performing school. So we're having to go through different things and create different scoreboards and coming up with, strategies because we are low performing. Our total performance composite for this year was 31.4%. So we're struggling with our student achievement currently. Although we are struggling, we are there's some growth. We are seeing growth in our numbers.
So when you look at your EVOS composite, is your school making growth?
We didn't make growth this year. What we're seeing is we are struggling with our mid and high students. They were like a negative 11% with their growth index factor. And then we're also struggling with in reading. Well, that's reading and math with the mid to high students. And then reading with our EDS students. We're not showing growth with those students as well. So we're working, our IS team currently is working to break down and identify those students and how many AMOs they are currently in. That's the current project that I'm working on, is looking at those students and identifying them and then bringing it back to the IST team so that we can brainstorm strategies and get that information in the hands of the teachers so that we can drill down on those students that are not showing growth. Like I said before, we are on the coastal plain region of North Carolina, and we are home to Camp Lejeune, which is one of the largest military bases in our country. So we do kind of have a high turnover rate, you know, teacher turnover rate within our county, and then students are constantly moving because, you know, when they're military, they move every couple years. So we are seeing some transient. Our population is very transient. Let's see. We do have the regular, we operate on a wave schedule, which is kind of something that a lot of the elementary schools in Onslow have gone to. It's a 6-day cycle, and it allows for us to have long extended periods of PLC time and planning time with our grade levels. And so like it's an A through F schedule. And on those days, like my grade, I'm 4th grade. And so we're C day. And so we meet, our planning time is from 8:55 until 1:05. And during that time, that's when we meet with our specialists, any district level people that want to come, our principals. We talk about data during that time. That's the time that we talk about and create our formative assessments. We aggregate our data. We're flexible grouping. All of that stuff takes place during that time. And so each grade level has a wave day that they have the opportunity to meet with their grade levels and different people within the school, the coaches and all that stuff. There are pros and cons to that because, you know, you do have a chunk of your planning all in one day. Those other days are really long. That the administration staff has worked to try to get us a break every day, but currently there is one day that we don't have a break within that 6-day cycle. We do have a Spanish teacher. We are the only elementary school that has Spanish. I don't know if I mentioned this, we are an international baccalaureate school. And so we focus on global studies, integrating that into our curriculum. Yeah. Let's see what else. When I put out the survey talking about, you know, the teacher empowerment and school leadership,
Right.
Majority of the staff indicated that they felt like they did have input on the professional development and the school improvement plan. Also, as well with the, you know, setting the school-wide policies. They did not think that they had input on the school budget. And so after talking to my principal about that, she's like, well, you know, the school improvement team, we come up with the budget. She's like, I think they have a misunderstanding of, you know, the school improvement team and how, you know, we have one member from each grade level. So we do have input in the school budget. But I guess the staff just didn't understand that question.
Right.
And then the hiring process, it was kind of 50-50. And that just depends on when the principal finds out that she needs a new position. If she finds out early part or at the end of the previous year, then the grade level does. But if someone puts in resignation letter in August and people are on vacation, you may not, be able to hire a teammate or a member of your team. So it just depends on, when the hiring takes place and when the interviews are taking place. The school improvement plan does drive the decisions within the school, and the budget. That's what our, school improvement, our budget is centered around our school improvement plan.
Right.
And then the other component, which was D, was just talking about the different teams that we have. As far as our, exceptional children's program, we have 81 students, and how those students are identified. They go through, we're not quite, we have not embraced or started to implement the RIT. They actually conducted, the state was in our district yesterday, going through training with the coaches and the principals and all that stuff to start implementing RIT next year. We're currently still doing the instructional intervention team, the II process. We received a waiver for RIT this year. So we still have the II process where it's consistent, the II team is consisted of members from each grade level. They run interventions, and once those interventions, they run them for, I think, 4 weeks, I think they said. And then once those interventions are not working, then they can be referred to the EC team where a deck 5 takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then from there, they have testing. AIG is slightly different in that teachers can refer a child for AIG testing, and then AIG testing is also based on how they did on the end of grade test and report card data. So there are 3 different things that can refer a child for AIG testing at our school. And then I talked about the building schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
All righty. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you kind of picked up on there's a relationship between school empowerment and budgeting. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you picked up on that. The APTEL, that piece that you brought in from the APTEL.
Right.
So, we can talk about allowing people to be involved in the process till the cows come home. But if we don't put the money, if we don't let them be involved in the money decisions, then they really don't have any empowerment. You're exactly right. If they're not deciding, don't put money behind it, we're not going to do it, or it doesn't get done. So good job picking up on that. Brandy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What do you want to talk about tonight? You skip or your OMA? Are you driving?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
All right, I'll read off the questions, and we'll start with the skip. I'll read the questions, and you tell us the answers. Okay? Okay. All right. Tell us about your school and community.
Okay. Well, my school is located in Southeast Raleigh, close to the downtown area. I'm at an elementary school, Fuller Elementary. We are a magnet school. And we're kind of nestled in the back. Most people don't know that we exist unless they're looking for us. Yeah. We're in the back of a neighborhood over in the Southeast Raleigh area towards Garner, a neighborhood called but we have about students. This year we increased our 175 students. Been the largest that it's been. I've been at the school for about 10 years. So that's the largest it's been since I've been there.
175?
575.
575. Okay. You're kind of breaking up on us. We thought you said 100. Okay, 575. Yeah, that's pretty good size.
Yes.
All right.
Typically, we are usually around 530.
Yep. All righty. Who were your PLC members for this?
So my school does something that I think is unique. We have what is called an instructional leadership team, and that consists of the literacy coach, the magnet coordinator, and myself, the instructional resource teacher. Last year, it included a PSYOP coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, those are the PLT members, and we work with administration. On top of that, I also work with particular grade levels. Last year and this year,
We lost you. Are you back?
to having my internship, I am working with so can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Okay.
Double duty tonight.
I hear you.
So those were my PLT members.
Okay. When you did your needs assessment to find gaps in communication,
Yes.
what did you find out? Where are the gaps and what would fix them?
So what I did was I submitted a teacher working condition survey based off of our results from 2014.
Uh-huh.
And I resubmitted the survey because we have had some teachers turnover.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that. And then in addition to that, we had a change in administration since that last teacher working condition survey was done. And my administration wanted to do a survey herself, which she called a pulse check.
Yeah.
And that was just to check to see how staff was feeling about the school year.
Yeah. Did you check with parents about communication?
Yes, we did. I worked with the PTA parents and a couple of our parent volunteers. I also pulled in a few of our parents doing parent-teacher conferences and kind of hijacked them and asked them to do the survey as well.
Great.
And so what we found from the teacher perspective, we found that teachers needed more individualized professional development.
Mm-hmm.
We found that the teachers felt like there had been a decline in community involvement,
Right.
and that being organizations and parents helping out at the school. We found out from the parent perspective, they felt like that the teachers didn't want them in the classroom as much. And so from the parent perspective, they kind of felt like they weren't supposed to be in the school as much. And from the teachers' side as well, we found that they wanted more support in the teacher leadership, the school leadership area. So student discipline, support with just like trusting teachers that they were instructing the students in the right way.
Right. Okay. What kind of plan are you putting in place in terms of trying to communicate better with stakeholders, teachers and parents?
So we started so to communicate more with the parents, we ask that whenever we have big events such as our Fuller Family Nights,
Mm-hmm.
we ask that the school administration put out what I call a robocall, but it's just an auto call all the families.
Yeah.
And whenever we have big events at the school, we started to use that a lot more often
Right.
to get the communication out to families. We also pull in interpreters and have them come in, and since Wake County pays for that service, we have them come in and call our Hispanic families. We do have our PE teacher speaks fluent Spanish, and we do have a full-time ESL teacher. And so we cover their classes, and when needed, have them call as well.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Now, what's your academic focus when you get those parents there this year? Is there an academic focus you're working on?
Yes, unfortunately, this year has been, we've always done well in math, and we've exceeded and met growth in math as across our grades. And that's been historical, and we did it this year, but unfortunately, we did not meet that in math, and ELA this year. And we found that in reading, it was just really low for all students. So all populations, our AIG, our ESL, African American, white, it didn't matter. We just found that kids overall did not do well in ELA. And so our SIP and our total focus this year is on ELA.
Right.
And what we've decided to do was begin a family engagement committee, and then that I chaired for the first half of the year.
Right.
And that the purpose of that committee was to pull parents in and provide parent workshops
Right.
on instructing their students
Yes.
in their particular grade.
Your child, exactly. Perfect.
The other thing that we did was we worked with our ESL teacher and again our PE teacher who's fluent. They have a cohort just of Hispanic students that she serves, and they walk around with those parents to the grade levels to speak with the teachers, and they're also very active in being there for the parent-teacher conferences.
Right.
So that's our focus. We've also purchased a couple of programs, one of which being Moby Max this year.
Right.
We've increased our reading professional development, looking at how teachers want more individualized things, research over the summer, and found some academic books for teachers. And so we developed learning cohorts.
Right.
So at first the teachers were like, oh, we hate book studies, another book study. I was like, no, have an open mind about it. Have a growth mindset about it. So what we did was we, at the beginning of the year, the books that were picked, and I did look into asking some of our lead ELA teachers where their test scores are really well, and our teachers that have reading masters also. Ask them what books that they think will be really good for our teachers to read, and they became our cohort leaders.
Right.
We have the teachers were able to pick from those books the cohort they wanted to be in, their area of focus for literacy, and they are able to then write their focus into their PDP, their SMART goal, which they have to track quarterly throughout the year.
Right.
And they work within that cohort. It became a little tricky because we departmentalize in 4th and 5th grade because of our AIG Basics program. So we do have some math teachers that are just math and they don't teach any ELA. And so the spinoff for them is to look more into the, they typically teach math and science, so to look into the nonfiction reading.
Right.
And how to help our students better understand that nonfiction area.
Right. Did I hear you say earlier, is your school, is Fuller still using SOP, Sheltered Observation Protocol?
So we started with that initiative 2 years ago, and we were doing really well when we had a PSYOP coach.
Right.
But of course, now that we lost our funding for a PSYOP coach because our test scores were improving. We lost our coach. And so now we don't have a coach, and it hasn't been implemented as well.
Right.
We do have some teachers that we try to model for our beginning teachers and for our new teachers. But as somebody that has to go in and do walkthroughs, I've just noticed that it started to dwindle as the school year goes in because we don't have anyone that's driving that ship.
Right, exactly. So what it generally falls to is the ESL teachers.
Exactly.
The regular ed teachers, if you don't have somebody monitoring and driving them. As a reminder, Sheltered Observation Protocol is basically for non-English speaking students to help them with word recognition. You know, in reading you've got comprehension, and then you've got recognition. Basically, what's the other word that I'm looking for, Brandy? Um,
It helps with vocabulary. It
Yeah.
ties in all of the works of putting together the second language using visuals to help
Right.
students. So it becomes very much direct, explicit instruction when they're teaching,
Right.
which is very helpful not just for our ESL populations, but for even our lower learners that need that type of support.
And you do some phonics, but you know those things, they help lead eventually to comprehension, but initially, it's more recognition in the beginning. But yes, it's hard to get regular ed teachers to do that. Usually it falls to them. All right, very good. All right, so Sean, and I see Shantae's already dropped off, and Brandy, y'all have been great students this semester. There, Shantae is back. Shantae, glad to have you and Sean and Brandy with me tonight. Brandy, I will see you and Sean either late. I'll be by to see you. I'm going to go to Athens Drive, but I'm going to come by and see both of you.
Okay.
And it'll be late January, early February. The day that I come to Athens Drive, I'll try to, either y'all can meet me there or I can come by and see you at your schools, since y'all are both fairly close by there. But I'll come by, continue to work on your evidences over the holidays. Brandy, you're just about done. So, knock them out. It won't make me mad if you get through early.
Okay.
Molly in the seated class over at Athens Drive, Molly finished this week. Molly Dibble, she's out at Garner at not Rand Road. What's the other one in Garner? She finished this week, so it won't make me mad. So y'all go ahead and keep on working. I will see you early next semester. Shantae, I think I have requested to pick you up, so I'm hoping to get to Jacksonville soon to see you.
Okay.
So what I'll do is y'all can go ahead and sign off now. Y'all have a good holiday. And
You too.
I'm going to hang around and see. I think Erica's trying to get in here. Hopefully she can get through tonight and do her final. But I have enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know if it's been as much fun on the other end, but I've had a great time this semester. But I'll see you all early next semester. So y'all have a good holiday.
You too.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.